Oh my God, you guys. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. And I got to tell you, I have never been happier to make less money than what transpired over the last couple of weeks. If you want to find out, let's dive into it. Okay, welcome back everyone. Michael and Katrina here with STR Wealth Academy. And on this channel, we discuss all things short-term rentals, Airbnb, and how to take a short-term rental income and turn it into long-term wealth.
So this is the first time joining us. We're everything about Airbnb short-term rentals, how you can grow and scale a short-term rental portfolio, owning property with rental arbitrage or with partnerships. So guys, please like and subscribe. You can hit in the corner here and please share this video because this, you don't want to miss it, of the biggest learnings from client management on the Airbnb side. And oh my goodness, it was a doozy. This has been an insane 2 weeks and we're gonna dive right into the situation and what happened and some big learnings so you can avoid them in the future.
So in essence, we essentially fired the best property that we had in our portfolio. We cut it loose because...
Which sounds crazy.
Which sounds nuts because although this was making very good money for the business, it was absolutely killing us the longer we kept it around. So basically what was happening, I'll just give you guys kind of the backstory. So we signed up, and just for confidentiality, we're not going to be naming names. I'm not going to be showing the address. I'm not going to be showing pictures. Just believe me on my tonality that
this was a nightmare client, and it was honestly an energy vampire. I don't know if you guys have really dealt with that, had like energy leaks or just people that just completely exhaust you. She was one of them.
So we'd started managing this property back in October of 2024. And as of February 2025, we cut this client loose. We cut the property loose just because honestly, we just could not take it anymore. It was just so unbelievably draining. So just to give you guys kind of a perspective on it, this house was generating well in excess of 5 figures a month in revenue most months. The homeowner was doing extremely well in terms of payouts, but it was one of these situations where sometimes people can't see the forest from the trees, and they were just nitpicking on absolutely every little tiny insignificant detail, where they first told us that they wanted to be completely hands-off, be completely passive, but the further we got into it, it just transpired into a situation where, and I'm not exaggerating, there was one point where we were getting 2 to 3 emails daily that were probably this long from the client.
Like the book of Genesis.
It would take
crazy.
3 to 5 hours a day of going back and forth of responses. On top of, in the month of December alone, we got more than 60 phone calls from this one client, on top of the daily text messages that we were getting, our team was getting, our quality control manager was getting. It was just suffocating on every single freaking level.
So guys, we manage over 70 Airbnbs in our portfolio, and this was one client that completely took over our business. And just like, it was so exhausting and it was just so energetically draining. And this was supposed to be, on paper, the dream property. It was beautifully renovated, and we'll get into those details. And, staged nice. It had 2 king beds, like all the features. It had amazing amenities, had a hot tub, was in a great location. It literally had all the ingredients to be the perfect property, but it was not the perfect homeowner. And that is what the downfall was. And this is our biggest learnings, because the biggest thing is like, you gotta listen to your gut, and no matter how much money you make, it's not worth it if it's stressful, draining, and not fun.
So over time, as we got deeper into management, as an attempt to try to accommodate, appease their demands, and try to work and find some level of consensus, basically what ended up happening was they just simply wanted to take over more and more of the management. So they weren't happy with the cost associated with us dispatching shoveling services. So they said, well, I'm going to just go ahead and handle that. Of course, what ended up happening is the house rarely ever got shoveled, and the times that we'd been there, the ice and snow was like inches thick, which would indicate
liability issue.
Which would indicate it would just simply wasn't getting done, which was creating a lot of liability issues for us, as guests were complaining that it was, it was just a freaking tripping hazard and an accident waiting to happen.
And remember how I said it looked like a dream property on paper? The thing is, it really was just lipstick on a peg.
Really was.
And so this house, just a little bit backstory, had just been recently renovated by this client. And unfortunately, it was just honestly slapped together, and it was lipstick on a pig. It looked beautiful, but really, like, when you looked under the hood, there were so many issues. We ran into shower installs leaking down the walls because it hadn't been leveled out properly. And then there's hot and cold water issues, plumbing issues, constant maintenance issues every single day, electrical issues. The internet could barely function. And if you looked at some of our previous videos, you can actually see it's so important to have working internet. It's like water. Like, you need to have it. Like, all of our systems are connected to it.
Yeah.
And it was just honestly really shoddy construction. The paint was bubbling, like, it's just like, you could see all the corners that were being cut.
It was kind of one of these things where it's like, we always like to say it looked good from afar, but as you got closer up, it was far from good, right? So the problem is, as being the manager in this case, we're learning about these issues live in real time from people that are actually coming through and providing this feedback. And the problem was, as we were providing this feedback to the homeowner, they literally just did nothing about it. And it all of a sudden became our fault. We had to come in and try to project manage for them for free, was what the expectation was. And as soon as we started putting our foot down and saying, well, this is not acceptable, this is outside of our scope of work, then she would turn around and say, well, this is just mismanagement, and this is not something that, you're not playing ball with.
And the biggest thing is like, and we'll get into big learnings, but it's just such a, we weren't on the same frequency and having the same understanding of what was expected. And it really comes down to expectations. Totally. But, and just to kind of cap this off, so early January this year, she just said, you know what, I want to take over essentially all, like, the nitty gritty details, right? So the house shoveling, as Michael mentioned, the supply runs. She wanted to be able to do all the maintenance on her end, and we'd have to, like, communicate it. But the problem is, we communicate and it wouldn't get done. And we highly anticipated this as well. And I don't know, if it wasn't working, then we would stop our management. And that's exactly what happened.
So then when we actually got to the stage where we said, this is just simply not working anymore, it's just too cumbersome, it's too difficult, it's impossible to get anything done. The reviews are suffering on this property because guests are really not having that great of an experience here.
When you're, don't have shoveled walks, the hot and cold water aren't working, the internet issues, it's not going to be a great stay, even though the place looks awesome. It's not going to be a great stay.
So anyways, we gave her notice and we said, unfortunately, we have to exercise our right to be able to leave this agreement. And then she completely fucking lost it. And basically from there threatened to sue us, was claiming mismanagement on every single aspect of things that we were doing, even though it was just extremely petty. And the tone of what changed, because all the communication prior was like, oh, this is so great, you guys are doing an amazing job, like, I am really thankful for this relationship. On a dime, just it took a complete 180, and we were just literally Satan in her eyes.
So here's the biggest thing, guys, is when we're looking at this, like, we've been doing this since 2018, managing, and we don't play games. We have the intention, and with any of the students that come through us here at Wealth Academy, this is a long-term game. This is an actual business, and so you need to protect yourself. So number one, we have an airtight management agreement.
Very important.
This is what we went back on. This is not in our scope. This is not what we need to do, and this is actually a responsibility. So having it so clear, like, we've spent thousands on this agreement from a lawyer, and in this case protected us. Having strong legal protection and great insurance is number two that you have to make sure you get in place, especially when you're dealing with other people's properties, right? You gotta make sure that you're protected and your employees are protected, like everything when you're looking at it.
Well, and that was part of it too, is it wasn't just us getting the brunt of this fairly hostile communication. It was also very toxic for our cleaning staff. Frequently people that we assigned to go and clean the property, all of a sudden they were sick that day and didn't want to go there. And that was the other thing too, is she was coming on nearly every single turnover, doing a full walkthrough, was getting pissed off about stuff that is going to happen when you're renting a property. Like, you're going to get a smudge on a towel. There's going to be a little scratch here, a little imperfection there, because look, when you have traffic coming through a property, you're going to have wear and tear. That is part and parcel with this type of business, and really any kind of business.
With any kind of rental.
Yeah.
So just to cap this off, guys, so we did a final walkthrough this week, and we left the house in show home ready condition. Yeah. So we had a call with our legal team earlier this week saying, hey, what's our exposure? What's happening here? And honestly, even though we paid extreme amounts for that call, the thing at the end of the day, it just gave us that confidence, knowing we were in the right, we hadn't done anything wrong. The house was in immaculate condition.
Phenomenal.
Like you could eat off the floor, wasn't even a scratch on the wall.
Phenomenal.
And so just honestly being really confident in our work, what we do, who we are as a company, and that we're ready, completely shut her down that day when we did that final walkthrough, saying, hey, you know what? We have legal representation. We know we're in the right of our agreement and what was happening. Your home, I've done photos, videos, counts, like it's beautiful. It's in immaculate condition, getting turned over above and beyond in good faith.
So some key lessons that we want to communicate to anyone that's watching this, especially if you're someone that's already taking care of properties for other people, you're managing for other people, or you're just fine, like you're maybe at the start of this journey and you haven't even taken on your first client. Some really, really important stuff we want to communicate. So the first thing is how you make your money is much more important than how much money you make. Guys, like I said at the very start of this video, I have never been so much happy to make less money than by letting that client go. It was, there was a bit of an income drop on the business, but I'll tell you what, the second we let that client go, on the final day of walkthrough, we got, like Kat's phone was ringing off the hook that day. Yeah, we had, I think 5 management inquiries come in one day, 2 new people signed up. So just energetically, as soon as we just released toxicity around the entire situation, that created space that we could bring new opportunities and be in the right mindset that we can actually just get back to the basics and providing a service that helps people, that adds value to the homeowners and creates an incredible experience for guests.
Yeah, and it's really, this has taught us is no matter like how you run your business, the thing is like you need to guide this of like what kind of business do you want to run? Right. And this is what's so important is you have to think it's like, who do I really want to work with? And who do I have to be to attract that kind of person? And this was just like a big wake up call because again, we managed over 70 listings and this one client completely wanted us to give it all up. It was just such a virus in our company, like how we were doing this. It was just exhausting. So number one, having an airtight agreement so we can have a good exit clause was massive. Right? Because we're in our right to fire her and have that 30-day exit clause. So that was massive getting into it. But also just really showing it's like, you got to stand up for yourself, right? And know what your values are and when a line has been crossed. And that's exactly what happened to it. And listening to your gut before you get into a deal.
There was a lot of warning signs on this situation before we had started management, but we compromised our own principles to appease our ego because we're like, it's such a beautiful property. It's going to do so well. And just like, there was something internally with me and I was saying to Kat right at the start, I'm like, I don't know, just something just doesn't feel right about this. And lo and behold, shit hit the fan. But some other key things to take away, just being totally open and sharing with you guys that are watching this. And Kat mentioned it just a moment ago. Before you even start taking on more clients, or maybe you're again in the throes of management, you want to be super clear on like who is your ideal client. And what are their characteristics? What are their attitude? What is their personality? Do they see value in investing in their property, providing an amazing experience? Do they nitpick on every single tiny little insignificant detail that really doesn't matter that much? You want to pay really close attention to this stuff at, kind of the before, during, and after sections of when you're actually interacting with somebody, because it can really bite you in the butt.
Yeah. And the thing is like, who do you have to be as a company and as a business to attract those dream clients? So for us, is being and having those expectations up front for anyone coming in. So like one of our core values is transparency, showing exactly what's happening. And we expect that up front too. And that was one of the red flags with them is that they, always had their cards closed, didn't want to have that communication right off the get-go. It was like a red flag, but we're very upfront, very transparent. They can see all the bookings coming in, everything, how we run it. But that's because we want to attract clients that trust us, want to grow with us, and understand our value, and that they're able to be like, okay, I'm going to go get more properties while you take care of mine, because we have that mutual trust. That's who I want to attract. And that's who is calling me all this week. Exactly.
So anyways, guys, just wanted to keep you in the loop. I know it's been kind of quiet for the last couple of weeks here, but
we were energy drained and,
We honestly, I was on the mat. I was just like, I've had enough of this. And we needed a little bit of time to kind of just mentally and emotionally recover from it.
Michael says the shock T mat. That's what he was saying. He's just releasing. If you haven't been on a shock T mat, it's amazing. And it's extremely painful.
Yeah.
But just to like release this like negative energy and honestly move on. And so this is big learnings. And honestly, even after 7 years of management, we still get a doozy, right? And this is how we are going to protect ourselves moving forward. I'm the upfront expectations. We're even tightening more of our agreement and making sure it's so specific in there for all these little, and it's an ever growing being. And any of our STR Wealth Academies students get access to that training as well. So the biggest thing, guys, if you're learning and you're like, wow, this is amazing and it's incredible to see you guys' journey and you still have it, but how you're moving forward. If you want to learn how to do this and build a profitable short-term rental business without owning property and having the right partners and the right kind of business you want to grow and scale, we actually did a training on this just a few weeks ago called STR Wealth Partnership Profits Workshop. And it's incredible. We go into lengthy detail of how to structure these, how to find the greatest clients, and then leverage these partnerships to not use your own cash or credit.
Exactly. If you want details on that specific training, the link is just in the description below. And again, if you enjoyed this content and you want to be notified the next time we drop new videos, just go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment in the box below, and just let us know your thoughts on this and if this resonated with you today. Because ultimately, the entire point of what we're talking about here is if you do this right and you work with the right kinds of clients and you manage the right kinds of properties, you can literally build an amazing, incredible business that serves your life, gives you joy, gives you energy versus something that's hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating and just makes you feel completely defeated on a daily basis. That's not what we want. So trust me when we say this. If you follow the things that we talked about in this video and be very clear on who your ideal client is, who do you have to be as a company to attract them, and then just simply stick to your word and know your value, you're going to stand out head and shoulders above the competition that is out there.
All right, so dive into the Partnership Profits Workshop, guys, and we'll see you on the inside.
Take care, everyone.